Welcome to a review of the davisinstruments.com Vantage Pro 2 wireless weather station. Now, this unit has been kindly provided for review by davisinstruments.com. So, why do we need a weather station on our outbuildings? Well, very important for many reasons. Many of you around the world live in locations where the climate can be quite challenging, to say the least. And you're not always in your outbuildings. You may want to keep an eye on how the conditions are from, well, anywhere in the world technically, with the addition of the WeatherLink Live Hub as well. So we're going to break this review down into two sections. Firstly, we're going to review the console. Secondly, we'll review the features and measurements that can be taken by the instrument suite. So firstly, let's start by looking at the console. Now, the dimensions of the console are slightly larger than the Vantage View. It does enjoy a slightly larger display screen as well. And then we've got the buttons for the different measurements down the side here, as well as some other feature buttons such as forecast, graphing, high-low levels for the day or month or year, alarm settings, etc. Now, because this is the wireless model, we also have the antenna on the right there. There is a cabled version of the console available too. Now, a quick word about connectivity. If you want to get your data up and running online, there are several options available to you, including the WeatherLink IP, the WeatherLink USB data logger, which connects up to your PC, and most recently we have the WeatherLink Live Hub, which you might remember we reviewed quite recently. So on our WeatherLink Live, it's so versatile that we're able to have the Vantage Pro instrument suite recognised simultaneously with the Vantage View as well, and that's a real highlight. You can also add other sensors separately, which is a nice feature. So now let's take a look at the main regions of the screen so that we can navigate our way around. Firstly, we've got the wind speed and direction rows here, and speed currently measured in miles per hour, but you can change those units. We've got the temperature out, the humidity out, and the barometric pressure reading. Temperature out and humidity out are both, obviously, they come from the sensor outside itself, the sensor suite. The barometric pressure is from the unit. Then we have the temperature in and humidity in, and a calculated heat index. That's all taken care of by the main console. And then we have the daily rain as well as rain rate, and you can switch between monthly and yearly for that as well. Along the bottom is the ticker display here, which not only displays current data for the parameter that you have set, so for example we are currently on the wind speed, but also it will display a handy weather forecast, which we'll come on to in a bit. We also have a historical data graphing feature here as well, so you can see how the weather conditions have been changing for any of the conditions you choose to monitor. Now, when you first set up the console, it takes a little while to learn the current conditions and trends in your local area. But once it has done that, then it's able to display a forecast, which for us has actually proved to be surprisingly accurate. So if I go ahead and press the forecast button just slightly off screen, you'll see the ticker across the bottom here will then say the particular forecast for your area. So for us, increasing clouds with little temperature change. And that, of course, is partly relying on the barometric pressure trends from the console itself. So then we come to look at the buttons. Now, aside from changing between those individual parameters there, as we said, the graph here you can see will change with the different conditions. The graphs themselves you can set up to have different scales as well, so you can have different time periods there to see how the conditions have changed. And then also the buttons on the right hand side here give some more functionality. So you'll notice the top one says second. That, by pressing that button, you can then access the grey text above each of these separate buttons too. So for example, if you wanted to check your solar sensor, if you had that, and you press the second button first, and then the rain day with the solar text above. Now, we don't have a solar sensor installed yet, but if you did, then that would show up in that particular sensor area. So then other buttons we have along here for function. We have the forecast one we mentioned earlier, so one push of that and you get the scrolling forecast along the bottom. There's the graphing button as well, so that is for when you have one of the individual conditions. You want to see how that's changing. If we go to, let's try temperature, and then press the graph button, and you can see then that you're able to navigate along that graph with the push of the left, right, up, down buttons at the bottom. So we go back to done, take us back to the main menu. Then you've got the high-low button, which shows you the highest and lowest conditions for various time periods. And the alarm button. Now we haven't got any alarms set up yet, but you can set alarms for a lot of features, more than we've just got displayed here. That's high alarms, and also low alarms you can set too. And let's go back to done. And one button as well, which we haven't mentioned, which is this grey one at the top here for lamps. So 2 pushes of the second button there will bring up the illumination there for the screen. Another question we get asked a lot is to do with the update intervals from the different sensors there, and what those transmission rates are. Well, for the wind speed, usually you get an update every 2.5 to 3 seconds. Same for the direction as well. And that's good, because that's hopefully mean you're going to pick up most of those gusts. A lot of weather stations we've looked at previously have very slow update rates on the wind speeds, and for us that was a big factor. We wanted those quick updates. Accumulated rainfall 20 to 24 seconds, rain rate 20 to 24 seconds, outside temperature updates every 10 to 12 seconds, and outside humidity is every 50 seconds to 1 minute, and the UV and solar sensors are also every 50 seconds to 1 minute updates. So now let's take a look at the Vantage Pro 2 sensor suite. There are several different sensor suites available. This is, if you like, the entry-level version, but it can be upgraded to any of the other versions by purchasing extra accessories such as the solar radiation sensor, UV sensor, and 24-hour fan aspiration radiation shields. So I think that's a really attractive proposition, that if you can't quite afford one of the more advanced models to start with, that you can upgrade this bit by bit in future. So the main features are as follows. We have the rain collector here with bird spikes attached. We have the rain collector base, which houses the tipping bucket mechanism. Underneath is the standard passive radiation shield. Then we have the solar panel and the transmitter shelter. And this is the part in which the sensors and the optional upgrade sensors get wired into. Up here we have the anemometer vane, and we have the control head, and the wind cups are attached underneath. Now I've just positioned these instruments so that we can fit them into the shot, but essentially this comes with the mounting hardware required to mount this onto a pole, or indeed onto a wooden fence post should that be desired as well. Now, in terms of measurements that the Vantage Pro 2 sensor suite that we have can make, we have wind direction, wind speed, rainfall, and the temperature and relative humidity sensors, which are housed inside the radiation shield. With the purchase of optional extras, you can also have a solar radiation and a UV sensor, as well as leaf moisture and soil moisture sensors, and you can also purchase additional wind speed and temperature sensors. Now, a lot of people have asked us, what is the difference between the Vantage View and the Vantage Pro 2, and is it worth upgrading? Well, the Vantage View is a fantastic system, but it is all integrated onto the instrument sensor suite. So that means that you cannot really mount that at the standard heights that are required for wind speed measurements, and also for the temperature and rainfall measurements. So the big advantage with the Vantage Pro 2 is that you can separate the anemometer and have that mounted at the correct altitude, as well as the sensor suite with the rainfall and the temperature and humidity. That can also then be mounted at the correct height as well. Now, we have been taking measurements from our Vantage View and our Vantage Pro 2 instruments simultaneously, and I'm really happy to report that they are very, very close to each other in terms of those readings. We can also do this on the WeatherLink Live additional hub which we own, and that is possible for having the addition of many extra sensors there. We have up to 2.5 second sensor updates from these two different instrument suites, and we can flip between the two just to see on the conditions. Now, on the actual app for that, you can see simultaneously both sensors, not in full detail, but you can then make one primary over the other, which enables you to then be able to focus in on the graphs and the individual parameters for that particular suite. So that's really quite versatile, and we like that feature. Now, in terms of powering this wireless suite, we have the solar cell here, but also inside is a backup battery as well, clearly for nighttime, but also for very low light conditions during the winter months. And our experience with the Vantage View battery is that it has lasted well beyond a year, with the solar panel trickle feeding that electricity during the day. So really, hopefully, you shouldn't have to be changing that battery all too often at all. But obviously, I suppose a big consideration is where you mount this, and making sure that it is safe to access as well as relatively easy to do so, and also to maintain the whole suite as well. You want to periodically check the rain collector filter there just to make sure that it's not too clogged up with leaves or any other debris as well. And just periodically to service, you might want to send those off back to Davis to have your instruments serviced. So yeah, just consider that really before you mount those. What's important to you? Do you really want the absolute heights for those sensors to be mounted at, or can you make a compromise on that? I suppose that's an individual decision. For us, we do have a lot of trees around, which is a problem, but then we are measuring, if you like, accurate data at the exact altitude of our outbuilding. So for us, that is perhaps the most important thing at this time, and it means that we can access those sensors relatively easier in future as well. Overall, we're really impressed with the Vantage Pro 2. We are very much looking forward to upgrading in future by the purchase of the additional sensors that we mentioned. It's a very stable, reliable and hardy system in our experience, certainly with the Vantage View, and we're hoping that's going to continue with prolonged use of the Vantage Pro 2. Really like the design as well, fantastic design, lovely stylish design as well, so that will look fantastic on your outbuildings as well. We like the fact that, of course, you can link this to the WeatherLink Live Hub as well, so you can be logging on around the world anywhere and checking the data from not just the Vantage Pro 2, but perhaps any other sensors that you have or instruments systems that you have as well. So very impressed, and we really highly recommend this. It's an industry standard. Davis is recognised worldwide, and I believe they even recorded the world's fastest wind speed, 199 miles per hour. And if that really doesn't tell you about how reliable that system is, then I don't know what will. So we highly recommend this. It's the Vantage Pro 2 from davisinstruments.com.